Seneca Falls. We're back. Seneca Falls was fully booked. I mean, we started right before we went to state convention in early June, and there was nothing to be found. Here's our welcoming sign to the historic Finger Lakes, the most beautiful, beautiful area you ever want to meet. And on our travels, lots of wine, farms, countryside. If we would have stopped at every one, we never would have made it to this wonderful 2-day celebration. Lots of wineries. And here we come. This is the biggest landmark in Seneca Falls, if you ask me. Here's our landmark, First Presbyterian Church, our destination. There is your sign out front, founded in 1807, current building dedicated in 1873, and the first Equal Rights Amendment proposed here in 1923 by Alice Paul. And there's Alice greeting us. There she is in her beautiful colors, and it was right outside the church, and we thought that was fun. So we made sure we got our pictures taken with Alice Paul. She's greeting Keith and I, and we're all wearing our white and green colors. Everyone was taking photos with her. Just think it was 100 years to the exact day when Alice shared her message about the Equal Rights Amendment at this very church. It was a momentous feeling to be part of this special day. Okay. The First Presbyterian Church of Seneca Falls. The sign that we're standing next to says the Equal Rights Amendment was proposed here in 1923, 23 Cayuga Street. I think that's significant how they have that address. And the flower beds were all in bloom with black-eyed Susan, pink, the pink cone flowers. And we just wondered if the grounds were in bloom over 100 years, just like this. One of the most amazing things we discovered when we went inside of the church, there was a poster, and you can see there's Alice Paul when she came to Seneca Falls to share her famous Equal Rights Amendment. Top line, Alice Paul, she put new life into the American women's struggle for the ballot. And if you read closely, she shared that she thought it would take only 10 years for her amendment to be placed into our US Constitution. Little did she know how long it is taking. But that's significant if you read that wonderful message. Here's our with the stained glass windows, just a beautiful setting. The furniture, the pews, the podium were all the same from 100 years ago. There's a photo on the back of the church right here, if you can see, and that was taken on the day of July 21st, 1923. So we got there pretty early, so we would get good seats. You know, we don't want to sit up front at a church, but that's where we went. We wanted to have the best seats in the house. And here we are at our seats. We're waiting for that conference to begin. Our ER fans were ready for the heat, and it was hot. I won't say it wasn't. If you look on our jackets, I have it on tonight, this button we were from the former National Federation of Business and Professional Women's Clubs back in 1970. They were sold to BPW members for $1. Now considered antiques, but the students really liked these buttons. We could have made a lot of money off this if we would have had a pocket full of these. They just loved that it said ERA is for everyone. And I just want to make a side note, if I may. I had just joined the BPWPA, and I remember this was the first thing that my mother-in-law said, you must get one, Nancy, you must wear this. So we wore them to all the club meetings after we had purchased, and I'm so glad I still have mine. And I love that I gave Denise my late mother-in-law's pin so that we both would have them on. But it was very significant that the students recognize it as, an antique. We'll go from there. In our opening session, well, maybe we didn't get up as close as we wanted to, but I just want you to meet. They had everything set up. These young people knew exactly who was going to do what. They had the program all planned. At the podium right now is Kate Kelly, a lawyer. She's the MC. She introduces the panel. Rosie Kulcher, co-founder of Generation Ratify. She's from Harvard. Belen Geta, from co-founder of Generation Ratify and a student at Columbia, and Ting Ting Chen, director of Columbia's Law School ERA project, and Betty Folliard, ERA activist from Minnesota. Ting Ting, if any of you have ever been to the Alice Paul for any of their programs, she usually is there as a regular, that she loves to come and talk at the Alice Paul House. So see her name, go listen to her. She's outstanding. So that's our Friday great greetings. So these two groups organized this event. They provided funds from our registration fees to help the students travel. Now that was told to us on Eventbrite that our funds, because the registration was a little bit high, but I was Denise and I agreed if it's going to help someone of this group, so let them use it. But the money went for hotels, and we discovered that many of them were staying, brought their sleeping bags and slept on the lower level of that church for 2 days. And the members of that church provided the food for these young people. I thought that was really special. The Alice Paul Institute also provided financial aid, and I forgot to mention they did have some of their representatives that we might meet again this summer. Were there. Was well put together for all of us. So here we go. So this is just a morning. I can say, oh, that's the same picture, Nancy. I'm sorry, I got a little repetitive. And there's some of the young people at the podium on this one. They all had something to share, which was delightful. So they even put together these workshops. Unbelievable. They knew their stuff. They had the PowerPoints. They had all the materials. They knew what they wanted to share with their groups. So the first class was Organizing for Equality, Direct Action 101, and it's how to protect abortion and the LGBTQIA rights. Before they even arrived in Seneca Falls, these students held 6 weeks of Zoom meetings reviewing the background of the ERA, what has happened in recent months with the judicial system, and why the way to having the ERA placed in the U.S. Constitution is with the legislature. Were they sharp? These students were knowledgeable on ERA, and they knew what they needed to say and do while they were there. They were enthusiastic and motivated to lead the cause. Nothing was more compelling as when our United States Rep. Cori Bush, she's from Missouri, she arrived and she shared in her remarks, "You will be the group to get this ERA passed." Oh my gosh, you would have thought they were jumping up and down. They were delighted with her remarks. They lifted the rafters of that church. She got them so excited about, they saw that as their mission. And that was pretty interesting. So all the workshops were held in the church or in the church lower level. Oh, and I forgot to say, they even used the upstairs, the choir loft for one of the sessions. But everybody had a place to go, had a topic, discussions. And it was interesting, intermingled with our ages and our thoughts and where we were coming from as we about the importance of this piece of legislation, what we need to be doing for the ERA. So when Cori Bush, the U.S. representative from Missouri, came, and what was interesting, she's the co-chair of the ERA caucus. I couldn't believe how dynamic, and she shared that the would be our 28th amendment with their help. And boy, they fed on that like, oh wow. So while we were there, we met many ERA leaders across the country. On the left is Senator Pat Spearman from Nevada, Carolyn Maloney, former U.S. representative from New York, and presently now she's president of New York. Oh, and there's our Denise. We made sure we took pictures with the right people, but it was, everybody was just so congenial. Just loved them. Here was our real star. What a rock star this gal was. Betty Folliard arrived with her signature hat, shared her 50 years of working for the ERA. Amazing dedication and determination to hear her story. She was compelling. But you know what? When I looked at her and I looked at myself, I said, oh, she's my stories that she shared were like my stories of 50 years ago. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. I could have been doing that same speech. So, and here's one of our favorite buses. They had buses there, but this is the Vote for Equality bus. It was everywhere. Honk if you love equality was heard all around town. So when I took a lot, it was always a lot of horns, but it was parked by the church during our sessions and it was kept quiet. Oh, I was a breath of fresh air. But that bus had traveled from Virginia, and people to ride in. It's a learning bus for inside are displays that they pull up, and they invite people to come in and to view the story of the ERA. Now, showed you in the back of the church. This is for the provider 23. And here's this group. Now you're going to say, who can you find yourself? Well, here, I'll put this one on. Here's where but I was so hoping that Denise and I would get the picture where they were up on a crane that would look down. So you would have a better eye where we are. But I'll show you where we are. I found us. We're right over here. Here I am. There you are. See the little, can you see me? And right next to me is Denise. Yes. Two little pinheads, but we were there. So we have to blow it up some more. Friday evening. Oh, what a great night this was. The Generation Ratify, they had more energy to keep them going as they led a march through Seneca Falls. They brought attention to the 100th anniversary of the RA. They held their banners and signs so all could see and hear.
Let's put that in there.
They sure made a lot of noise. They had a party for the United States Rep. Cori Bush. Would you believe it was her birthday on July 21st? What would be the odds that our keynote speaker would be celebrating her special day with the RA? And that night, those young people were up late that Friday night creating friendships across the country. Denise and I guess I was the party pooper, as that heat of the day was quite the challenge. Those ERA fans did not live up to expectations. It was really hot in that church. And I asked if we could go home because it was overwhelming. But I'm so glad these young people came the next morning and hyped up as could be about what all they did the night before. And I'm glad that many of them shared it with us, what they were up to. So we got our night's rest, and that was great because we had driven a few miles south of Seneca Falls for our lodging, but we got back the next morning. So here we traveled to the Women's Rights National Historic Park, only a few blocks from the First Presbyterian Church. We took a short walk through the displays on the women's history. Very impressive displays and information plus. We would highly recommend this historical park to anyone traveling to Seneca Falls. Make this a must-see. It's also located on the main street of Seneca Falls. You can't miss it. And the parking lot was right behind the building. This is one of the displays. If you could read the lines, but this is from President Obama, that he had sent some items for display for women's issues that I took a picture of. I thought it was very impressive as you walked around, and this is just out of this world to see the clothing and how they put them together, and the lighting is just fantastic. You'll just get lost in there, immerse yourself in history. And they also, because of it was the weekend, they also were offering programs that I took the picture of what they had if we weren't going to be busy next door. So, but Denise and I, we were going to the Wesleyan Chapel right next door. Now, this had windows that gave us some air. It was quite a different day because we had some airflow. I appreciated that. And here we are. This is the chapel. It's not very big, but we got our program. I took a picture of it, and it shared who's sponsoring, who gave some money, and it also shared who was going to be our speakers. Now, so I'll give you a moment that you could read over them. whoever was somebody in the ERA movement, they were there. They were there on that podium. And you're going to say, Nancy, you're not telling us what they shared. I will tell you, John Maloney, I spoke about a sign for ERA, and I'll be bringing it up in a moment. Ellie Schmel from the Biz magazine, you know her as a feminist majority, very interesting speaker, but telling us that we need to get more women and men involved in our movement if we're going to make that difference. Back in the early 70s, only 50% of our country was really for the ERA. It didn't get the momentum. They're hoping with the technology that we have now, we will get more of you and me on the list. The young people, Cori Bush again, saying these young people are going to do it for us. She really had their attention. I loved hearing the young generation ratify women, the young women. They know what they wish to do. They have direction within themselves, and they do see themselves getting us to that promised land of amazing interaction. And I want you to know about this Kate Kelly. She wrote a book, Ordinary Equality, but she was a little bit older than most of the young women there, but she was like kept her eye on that everybody was doing their proper thing and in order. She was amazing. I enjoyed her immensely. So here's our panel, and here's Cori Bush again. Carolyn Maloney was a dynamo. She talked to everybody. She wanted to know who all was there. Where were you from? What group? What state are you from? And I just want you to look at Kate's hat. I had to have a picture. Could you imagine? ERA was like embroidered on it. It was just amazing, and those little like ferns, gorgeous attire. And here's the most important information. If I say anything tonight, it's this. I want you to write down sign4era.org. I want you to go to it tonight. I want you to get on their list. You sign your name, and you will be rewarded by receiving information from this group that are doing this. Now, Caroline Maloney is really the one behind all of this. She's really promoting it as Ellie would like us to have more numbers. Carolyn has put it into place. But if you can do this, you will be pleasantly surprised of getting updates on what's happening more around the United States, what you can connect with, and get involved. That's my big thing tonight. Get involved. Came home so motivated after those just 2 days. So what more can we do? So hoping they want more millions. And my sidebar, hearing that the young man realized how important the ERA is for them too, was wow. I just was so thrilled to hear the young man wishing to be part of this movement for how important it is to them. This is something. So if you wrote that down, and you're going to Google it, it'll take you to sign on. And it was developed by 4 students at the Columbia ERA school, and they I don't think they were there, but a lot of praises and bravos are going to them because they really feel this is what we need to be doing. So when we got that wonderful morning, it was really a great day. For an hour and a half it went to, but we went down to the park, quite a few steps to travel. It's next to the lake, a beautiful day. Everybody was sitting out and just chatting with each other, swapping names, addresses, and asking questions. You know, what were you doing 50 years ago? They didn't really say 50 years ago, but what kind of things did you do? Well, I could share that when I was in college, that was a big moment to march and to get involved on my college campus, that I felt like I was part. So when I graduated from my Kutztown University and I came into my BPW years with the Warner family, my mother-in-law, it was just like I just drifted into another era of my life. And she was so passionate about women's rights in the United States. I couldn't help but be part of this. So I'm just so happy that these young people, that we really had a good time interacting. So when the picnic was over, we went back to the church. Now, that's where Denise and I are standing, at the very place where Alice Paul delivered her famous ERA. Gave us chills. We had someone taking our pictures. Oh, we got a close view, a back view, but I picked this one out, Denise. I thought we looked pretty good. But we really were involved in listening and discussing, because that afternoon, this group really wanted to comprise a statement for their work for the coming months, because these young people were then going to go back home to their colleges, high schools, and would be reporting on what all happened and what was the next thing. And they were going to be back on Zoom in short order to get their what they're going to share. Everybody was in unity as they would go back. Amazing. They were structured. Another famous person we did meet was Camila Lopez of Equal Means Equal. She's from the West Coast. You probably have heard about her. And we asked her for a photo stop with us, and she really was agreeable. And but just like all of them, everybody's looking for a few funds if you can help them. And that's how it goes. Get into the mix. Friends we met along the way. We met some great people. This gal is Mackenzie. She goes to Lincoln University, down your way, District 10. And wonderful that I have called her a couple times, see how she's doing. And she just said they are gaining more new members for this generation Ratify all the time. Makes you feel so happy. Oh, I put my picture with my girlfriend from Minnesota. She was a hoot. This was Denise's good buddy. Well, she got hung. We would, you look up friends and you just hung around. So we got some great pictures. And here's Saturday. Barbie was showing in the park. I couldn't believe it that they had Barbie, and how they were able to get this hit of the summer, I have not a clue. Perfect ending to the ERA work that these young people and us intergenerational group, we all were enjoying it. And here, and the Vote Equality bus, on this is a different one, was always there. On Saturday, we were able to sign our names on it with a permanent ink pen, really special. We just enjoyed all the aspects that we had to share that day. So we've got back Saturday night, and here we're leaving Sunday morning. But ahead of us, I could not believe it, was our famous bus tour line of Pennsburg, PA, the Perkiomen Tours. What are the odds? You're how many hours away from home, and there's your hometown bus. We had a 5-hour ride back to Harrisburg, and what a beautiful day for a drive home. Denise and I reminisced all the way back about different things that we saw, and people we met. This was across the street from our hotel. It was a travel spot, just beautiful gardens, and that's the lake back in there. And this is coming into Pennsylvania. Oh, you couldn't have it any better. And I'll just close, and before I close, I'll just do my overall thoughts, and Denise maybe might think of something that I might have forgot. So the overall thoughts of the ERA Centennial. This group planned and organized a well-run 2-day event. They made sure to help with expenses for all interested students from across the country, from the ticket cost of other attendees. Finding lodging for all must have been a tremendous task, because we even had a room of 4 in our hotel, which was a distance away. So somebody was picking up and then taking them back to Seneca Falls. Another thing that we met a young lady from Berkeley, California, that had made the travel. Uh, it was all over the United States. They were just there on to meet and to learn and to discuss. They brought the most notable speakers of the year questions and included them into the agenda. These individuals were personable and engaging to everyone. It was quite an honor to meet so many of them. And the knowledge of the younger generation was definitely noted, as well as their enthusiasm. I guess the big word, as Denise and I left, was the feeling of hope. It filled the church and the chapel as we engaged with everyone in attendance. It was a day in my life, and I'm so glad that we took the trip. I'm glad we participated. I wish all of you could have been there. I do wish I thought of so many of you, how you would have enjoyed it, and to be interacting with history as we did. So this is part one. Denise, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Well, I just remember how dynamic all the speakers were, and especially the young people. I mean, they were so enthusiastic. It made me hopeful that the newer and younger generations would do all they could to get this passed.
Thank you, Denise. Anything else come to mind?
No, you did a great job.
What do you think? Wait, I know we did this. Well, I was looking for someone to go with me, and when Denise said, "Okay, I'll go along." Now, remember, Denise lives in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania, so we met in how came up the Route 15 that takes you right into New York, into this the Finger Lakes area. It couldn't have been a more enjoyable ride if I ever thought. Just 5 hours, and we were there, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful few days from everything that we were able to participate in. I'm glad we went and we took the time, and I just wish they would have had air conditioning. I saw those churches are beautiful, but there was no air. It was a little bit rough. So that's oh, does anybody have a question before we go to part two? Anybody have thoughts? I wish you all could have been there. Oh, yeah, it was just, they did have a lot to buy. You got these beautiful, the fans that said ERA, and that was it. There was nothing to buy. There was no, that gimmick stuff. So that shirt that you saw on dear Denise, she brought that along. So that was smart, because you think you would be going to something like this. Nope, they kept it really, really, I think, I'm going to say classy. These kids knew what they were doing, and I'm glad we got to see it all. Yes, anybody with a question?
Yeah,
Nancy?
I don't have a question, but I have a remark.
Go ahead.
Nancy, oh, you were talking about 50 years ago, and a lot of the women's pages that I follow on Facebook made a big deal about how 50 years ago today, or this year, women needed men to co-sign for credit cards and bank accounts.
How about that? Yeah. Yep. And that was not too long ago, if you think about it. It was my day. I remember that. And the same thing, you know, uh, so many things were going on at that time. And I was sort of glad. And you're going to say, boy, your mother-in-law was a trendsetter. No, Elfrida came from Germany out of the World War II. She was a war bride. In Germany, women have the same rights as men. She comes to this country and she's had the biggest shock. I'll never forget this conversation, biggest shock of her life, when she came to America and realized, I hate to say this, but second class citizens. That's how she felt. And I admired her immensely for all what she did for women, and being a mentor for so many of us, that you stand up and you go after what you want. So I don't know if she's not with us now, but boy, every time I wear my pin, I always think of those memories. So it was a fabulous trip. So let's go to part two. Oh my goodness, the time just goes, Carol. Here we go. Part two. what's happening with the ERA. So when we last talked, we realized the judicial system was not the way to travel. Two of our groups tried their best to bring the ERA to the court system, only realized that it wasn't going to work. And glad it happened the way it did, that we realized it. So we stopped thinking that way. That we, President Biden, he was not the person to approach even with our button and slogan stickers because we wanted him to do something. But he's the executive branch. Nope, not going to work. So now we have our legislative branch. So last April, or before we spoke on our last session, Carol and all of you, we thought, oh, last April was going to be our day when Senator Schumer brought it forth on the Senate floor. We all were in a tizzy. We were sending emails left and right to each other. Oh, he must have had the votes. That's all I kept thinking. He wouldn't have brought it to the floor. Only we learned that it lost by a few votes on, you know, what he did, and still trying to figure all of that out. But we were promised a return of the ERA to the Senate. No, that didn't happen. So let's take one more look at the Equal Rights Amendment. Yeah, this is something. So I want you to understand the Equal Rights Amendment has 3 sections. I always write just about the first one when I do my column that I write for. But when I get to the second, you know, for the Congress have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation, there are provisions of this article. And it's section 2 that we all have to remember. Lily Goya brought this to my attention. She says, make sure you discuss that this amendment shall take effect 2 years after the date of ratification. And I thanked her because it's something that if you don't put down the whole thing, you forget. So here we go. So we're going to do some congressional strategy, House and Senate. We still have that discharge petition for the House, Resolution 25 affirms the ratification of the ERA and removes that time limit. And that's still out there. And we have the Resolution 6 in the Senate, the companion bill. Wow. But we know in the House, 207 members have signed on. We need to reach those representatives who have not signed and thank those who have. And we need to do the same in the Senate. So you have to look up your representative senators. And we know that our 2 senators have signed on. And I know, I love Senator Casey saying he has 4 daughters. And if he doesn't support this, he'll never be able to go home. I just, when he talks so passionately about women's issues. So on this one, on the next one, the resolution of 82, and then in the Senate, the resolution 39, expressed that the ERA has been has been ratified and is enforceable as the 28th Amendment, and calls the archivist to certify and publish without delay. Now I'm going to talk about that. We have our 38 states needed for ratification. And that's a big issue because some say, no, you don't, because it didn't meet the time limit of that June 30th, was it 1982? Well, okay. But we have a lot going on here because let me show you what I think I have. No, let me see this one. Just last week for that resolution 39, it's from Senator Gillibrand. And she's calling the archivist to publish that ERA. She's a fundraiser. She spoke in length about the need for ERA because of its ability to protect the reproductive rights. She's asking President Biden to instruct the archivist to publish it, that it needs to happen as soon as possible to stem the flood of cases rolling back our women's rights. And we all have seen it, and we're all, oh, what's happening? If you have time, we're encouraged to write to the White House to direct the archivist to publish that ERA. No, the archivist, let me say, I have a note here. She's from our southwest part of the state. Her name is Colleen Shogan. She was put into office on May 17th, 23, right after our last program. And the gentleman, Mr. Ferreira, he retired. So Colleen takes over this position. But when I researched her, do you know she's a native of Southwest PA? She went to Norwin High School, 20 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. Is that gonna, she gonna be in your District 12 area, Denise? So that's who's in place. It's not that she doesn't want to do it, but she needs to have instructions. She could do it on her own, but we know she's waiting to get the signal. So that's a big one. And here's-
Nancy, Norwin would be in Westmoreland County. It's District 3.
Okay, well, I wanted to give credit, but hey, if we.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I think definitely we should talk to District 3 about that.
Well, that she's a local. And it's nice, and I love her credentials, how, when she was approved, for the position, high ratings from everybody. She's quite an accomplished young woman for the job that she's doing. And I thought, well, she has some, and I guess she's just waiting for the right call, because this Senator Gillibrand really would like to push her, you know, coming in another way in the door. So I'll keep everybody posted on what I hear, and if she does any more movement on her thoughts on this. But here again is this Sign for ERA petition. Again, Carolyn Maloney, president of the New York Now. So if we'll sign it, as of now, we have 90,000 signers. Ellie Smeal of the Feminist Majority has shared that the more individuals that sign on, more is the proof that the Equal Rights Amendment is wanted in our country. She has said that time and time after hearing her, whether it be at hearings on the TV or hearing her of those 2 days that we were with her. Very interesting. She's really hopeful. And I'm telling you, you will be rewarded with updates on what's happening. So don't let it go by, because I don't know if District 10 or the state legislation is going to ask me to come back again. I just feel like I thank you for asking, Carol. I know there's so much going on in all our lives, but I just thought, boy, this has got to be, we got to be talking about it. And this just happened, the show for equality. It just came out. And once I get more information, I will send it to all of those, Carol, if you keep the list of tonight. And I want to share with you what they have come up with. It's another petition, but instead of going on and trying to sign on, all you have to do is take your phone and you yell in it, shout for ERA. So I don't know all there was ins, but boy, I sure beats trying to, put in a website and trying to find the Sign for ERA. It's a new concept. As I found, it's the first time for technology to be used in any advocacy campaign. So if it works, hallelujah. So that's where I know right now. And here a little something. I guess it's all up to all of us. I guess we have to get hungry for some action. I like that I get to get on the coalition. It's many women from many groups. And it's well structured on the Zoom for if you have something to share or to speak. And what I like about this ERA coalition, how they are thrilled with our Pennsylvania and our Supreme Court in Pennsylvania that we have it in our Constitution. There's 25 other states that have what we have. And I like when they put Pennsylvania saying, but you women have done something that so many have not in our country. So I thought that's been interesting. But when you view what's going on with the legislative branch down in DC, I don't know what to think. There's so much on the agenda that needs to be addressed. I don't know where the ERA will be placed before, if we'll see it before the upcoming election. That's a big concern. I can't tell you enough to sign on, share with your family members, neighbors, and colleagues, see if they would be interested. We want to raise our numbers into the millions. Women and men can sign on. And I just keep thinking of, we all have a dream in life. Well, Alice thought it would just take 10 years, and now we are at 101 years. I just think we've got to try a little harder. If that generation ratify is all keyed up, I need to talk to Mackenzie to see what else they're up to. So we stay in step with them if we could, or support them if we can. That's where we have to be, so we all can try a little harder. I don't know what more I can share, ladies. I like when Terry said, I'm your cheerleader. I just wish there was more to cheer about. So I'll end there. So if there's any questions or you want to start a conversation, we could do that. Carol, do you want
Could
to
you
lead
put
that?
us back on the gallery? Could you put us back on a gallery view?
Sure, I can do that. I'm gonna stop the share. Here you go.
That'd
You're
be
in the,
great.
you go ahead,
And
Carol.
and before we get off, I'd like to get a screenshot of everyone. So there are, if people who have their video off are willing to come in with their video on, I'll do a quick screenshot. And okay, so everyone's on who's going to be on. All right. Okay. ERA.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Sister, you want to do a little discussion? We still have 10 minutes.
So this generation ratify, how did they get started? Do we know what group started them?
From out of Columbia University and Harvard. Rosie's from Harvard, and let me get
They're just students who,
that got together, met somewhere at some conference, and they got this all started. It's amazing how large it is and how many high schools also are included. That was the other thing that was surprising, how many were not in college, but were participating. Very interesting. I don't know the particulars, but maybe for another session, Carol, I'll find all that out. Maybe
well, I'm wondering like what's in Pennsylvania that we could,
well,
like,
I could ask Mackenzie if you'd like. Mackenzie from Lincoln University. I could ask her if she'd be interested.
that'd be great to have them come and talk to us and see how we could support what they're doing.
It's an amazing group of young people, very knowledgeable. I mean, they were sharp young people, sharp. Made me feel good to know our future is in their hands.
Oh, it gives you hope.
Yeah,
I have a question about the archivist. I'm so confused about that. Can the president instruct the archivist to publish this?
yes,
And would the amendment then be?
if she
approved?
says that it's part of our 28th amendment of the US Constitution, yes, that it's in place.
It wouldn't have to be voted on by the House and Senate then?
No. If you do any reading on it, that's a good research, because I was working again today on it. If it happens that way, it does not have to go through our Congress. That's why you're hearing the other way. We gotta find, if we can't get through Congress the way things are, we gotta find another way. And so Senator Gillibrand really has been researching, and she's been very soft pedaling it. She's not being abrasive. But when I've been reading at that luncheon that she did, she was very careful. Every word was, I guess, studied before she said it. But it made news down in the DC papers, that this is what is another strategy from women. I thought that was quite interesting. So she's thinking out of the box.
Ginny, I think wants to comment or question.
Yeah, I have a question, and I don't know if you can answer it or not. But I mean, we all know ERA is to help women, give women equal rights, and it'll help with a lot of these laws about strict abortion laws and IVF and all that. Would the ERA help, like in those states, like Alabama just passed a law that the schools, high schools and colleges can't teach like Black history, LGBTQ, and like diversity. And it seems a shame that in the South, unless you're a white male Christian, your history and culture is being wiped out. I mean, they had a woman on TV the other night who's either a senator or a representative from Alabama. And she said it was 50 years ago today, or 50 years ago recently, that Martin Luther King Jr. and John, God, his name just went out of my head. Crossed
Louis?
Lewis crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and they, and the significance of Bloody Sunday. And they said because of this law now, it's very possible that children and college age students will never learn about that.
No.
And we're living in a very scary time right now when it comes to what legislatures are doing with censorship and rewriting history.
And that's what we hear every day. It's just, nobody's shocked anymore. It's just a commonplace.
And
There's
I
no-
don't think passing the ERA is necessarily going to
um,
address that issue because education has been a political hot button
always.
decades.
That's correct. It sure has.
But we have hope.
Yeah, lots of hope, hope.
That's the one thing, and that's what I start every day with. What's one thing, just one thing I can do today? And if everyone woke up that way, just thinking about one thing they could do that day, it helps with the spiraling down. It really helps. And I think all these men who are in office should get a massage every morning and meditate before they're even allowed to go into the sacred halls of the legislature. That's my opinion.
Quite interesting. Thank you, Carol. That was really funny. I like that. Really.
I visualize that.
I just get very angry every time I consider what's going on. I was married in 1959. I turned 21 in 1963. That's when I could vote. And at that time, because of both my husband and I being underage, of course, we had to have people co-sign to get apartments, all kind of crazy things. And but then when my husband turned 21, things were lifted from him that he could now go ahead and buy a car or whatever, but I couldn't. And people don't believe this, but that's the way it was. You could not buy a car on time. Of course, I think you could with cash. I'm not sure, but I didn't have that opportunity. But you couldn't go and get a loan of any kind without a co-signer, and your husband would do. But if he didn't have a husband, you had to have a father or a brother or somebody that would definitely take over if you failed to complete the loan. And it really ties you down. And when I went for my job and when I went for my mortgage and everything, even in 1970, when I went to see about getting the mortgage, they said they'd only consider 2/3 of my income because I was 30 years old, or really 28 years old, and still of childbearing time. So they wouldn't accept my whole pay. And I knew that a law had just been passed that was not legal anymore. So that's when things started to change, 69, 70, for women's rights. And that was the beginning. And I've been through all this with pay equity and all this stuff my whole life. And here we are right back where I started, losing everything. And the young people are so naive. They don't understand what's happening. They can't believe it would happen. And oh, that's not going to happen. I've got that for the last 5 or 6 years. And here we are.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think men are being threatened. I mean, I have 2 granddaughter-in-laws that are really moving. They're 30 and 35, One's a lawyer. She's in Philadelphia in the defense for the people that are poor. Anyway, she works as a defense attorney in Philadelphia, and she's now just been selected to teach a class at Temple on how to get ready to defend a person. That's going to be her class. And the other wife has just completed the extending her nursing to being a nurse practitioner or whatever. She's going to make like $120,000 a year. And I mean, these women are just going, they're so bright, and there is opportunity there. And I think it's scaring a lot of the men. Their husbands, my grandsons, are a little bit leery about all this, but they're grinning ear to ear about the money that's coming in. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know how long this will happen.
Well, that's why we have to keep fighting, Jean.
Yeah.
I do.
That's why we need Nancy to keep coming back and revving us up.
Well, I got more research, more things are happening. I'll gladly come back, Carol. This is such an honor to be speaking to our Pennsylvania sisters about what's going on. And I know I don't have maybe the latest, but boy, just from last week, Senator Killibrand saying this is what we're going to do now. I thought, oh, this is interesting. And the ERA Coalition meets every other Thursday. So they didn't meet today. So I got to get on next week to hear what they're
Right.
saying, what's going on. What's
Well, I think that's very optimistic what she's doing. And she was pretty effective with the women in the armed services and the abuse and harassment, trying to change the way that was being handled. She really went to bat for that too.
let's get on her wagon and let's see. I'll be back to share. If there's any more information, I'll work with Carol if you don't mind, if I can send you some emails. Some just say, this is what I've learned, and so I can share. I know we all need to be talking more. I think that's another thing. We're silenced. We haven't talked about ERA and within our groups.
Right.
That's what we need to be doing. We need to be.
It's very important to get this finished. Very important.
Yeah.
It's it's like the base of us
It
building
is.
ourselves back up again.
Yeah.
It's the heart of our legislative platform is what
Yeah.
our platform's
Our
based.
first line in our Pennsylvania. Yes.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure. I'm glad I had time. And I'm looking at the time, Carol, but I got a patient I gotta go take
I know,
care of.
yes, I know. The timing couldn't have been worse for you. I'm so sorry. I really felt terrible when I realized what you were going through at home. And
To be okay. So what are you gonna do when you have a husband he's never had pain in all his life, and boy, now he give him a new knee, and he sure does.
well, I've been thinking about your husband too, about having the mother that he had and the wife that he has now. He must be pretty well trained in all this.
I'm quite proud of him. He is quite knowledgeable. He listens, and he follows the shows that I watch so that we can talk about these issues. I have been blessed. I really am been blessed with my Fred for 52 years. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. And having his mother as my mother-in-law, I was my jackpot. So I'm so happy. So thank you. Back again, Carol. We'll work on some more.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good to see you, Nancy.
Everybody.
Night.
Fighting, we're
Nancy.
fighting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Good night.